Welcome to another episode of GSP, the Good Sugar Podcast. I am Ralph Sutton. With me, as always, Marcus Antebi in his ever-changing background. Where are you right now, Marcus?
Right now, in the Himalayas.
It's going to be real. I knew already. I knew it was going to be real. I knew that already.
Yeah, I'm in a sanitarium,
that
upstate
makes a lot
New
more
York.
sense. That's very believable. But I have a couple of topics I want to get to. But right off the bat, you asked me, because we started taping today, and always like full disclosure, time was 11 a.m. to tape. Excuse me. And 11:01, you chimed in. You logged on, and you said, "What is the latitude for tardiness on these shows?" And my philosophy is from my dad. When I was about 15, I had to show up at his office for a meeting at 1 p.m. Right, and I walked in at 1 p.m. and I was so proud of myself that I'm showing up on time. And my dad is not going to be angry with me. And the first thing he says to me is, "You're late." I said, "Dad, it's 1 o'clock. Look at your clock right now." He goes, "Okay, the meeting was supposed to start at 1. If you show up at 1, how is the meeting starting at 1? And I was like, you know what? You're right. And so from that point forward, I always show up a few minutes early everywhere I go, always. And if I know I'm going to be late, which is the number one thing that drives me nuts, if our meeting's at 1 o'clock and at 1:05 you call me to tell me you're going to be late, I already know you're going to be late. Call me at 12:50 and tell me you're going to be late. At 1:05, you're not telling me anything I don't know. So in the answer to your question, I always show up, and Brian will attest to this, a couple minutes early. I'm always online. And that's the way I live my life, Marcus.
I appreciate that. And I think that one day, if you have a son and the similar things happen, you could terrorize him with that that philosophy. It'd be great. I don't think I think that when you set a time and you say, "Hey, let's meet at 11," what I have found for myself is that in periods of my life where I can't show up on time, and I haven't been that way since I'm in my 20s, but what I linked it to was to anxiety and trauma and not really being in a relaxed state of mind to remember the small amount of things that were on my calendar. And as I started to relax and become more comfortable in the present moment, it was just the 6 or 7 critical things that are on my calendar during the week. They're just fresh in my head. And I also have a practice of opening up my Gmail calendar first thing in the morning. It's like after like 2 or 3 things, I just say, okay, where am I on this planet? What am I supposed to do? Oh my God, I can't believe it. I have a court date and I wasn't even thinking about it. So I think considering that our podcast changes almost every week, the time and day.
Well, we can put in a finite time if that works for you.
I do it. It's you guys, Brian and Ralph, you guys have more fluctuations, and I always make myself available for whatever time. I'm not bragging here. I'm just saying I'm okay with the current status as long as we are thinking positive. Like, how great is it that we keep throwing darts at a moving dartboard and we show up and we do it pretty much within a minute of always being on time in the last, 100 episodes.
And also that is what the allure of being a podcaster is to most people, is the flexible time of saying, all right, you know what, I got the time right now, let's do it. As opposed to going to a full-time job where you have to be there from time A to time B, Monday to Friday, or whatever that is. So that's why a lot of people get allured to the world of podcasting, is that flexible schedule.
Well, to wrap up that incredible conversation, I would say that was a health and wellness discussion on managing time.
Well, can I go one step further on it?
Okay.
I had another point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I dated a girl that you might remember, Dawn. We were together for like 6 years.
I do.
Like that, right?
Blessings and kindness upon her. She was a nice person as far as I can remember.
Yeah, we're still friends to this day. We broke up when I was 33, so that's right. Almost 20 years ago.
You guys shower as friends, or you just
we do friendly showers though, so only touching in certain areas to keep it friendship. And
good boundaries. Good boundaries.
We would have this argument all the time, in that if it was something that was important to her, we would always be on time. But if it was for work, if it was for me, it would never be on time. And then I started to lie to her. Like, let's say we had a dinner date at 8 o'clock. I would tell her it's 7:30, so we'd be on time. And then I started to have it would gnaw at me. And this is why I think always with, not that I have a great relationship. I'm not the person to be talking about being in a relationship.
No, this is great. You're uncovering something, and we're going to have some stuff to work on based on what you're uncovering. I didn't even know this was going to get so personal.
And then eventually it would bother me that I'm lying to her for things that related to me. But if it's something that she wanted to do, a concert she wanted to see, a place she wanted to go, she would always be on time. And then we would start having these arguments about it. But even, by the way, to this day, as a single man, when I make a date with a girl for the first time, because I don't know the girl that well, I will tell her the reservation is for 7:30 when it's for 8, because girls are generally, at least for me,
Canceled.
on a first date, are late. They're late, right? So yeah, you're canceling me.
Canceled culture.
And instead of me getting agitated by giving myself that window of a little cushion, and I don't get as agitated if they're late. Does that make sense? You probably think I'm crazy.
First of all, just to acknowledge what I hear you saying. First of all, since I've gotten very familiar with you in the course of the show, I would say it fits your personality. No, in a positive way, that you've never fashioned or considered yourself to be a very enlightened person, but you're also a very aware person. I wouldn't say that in all ways that any of us are every time always aware, but you're a very aware person. And I think you are a very considerate person. I think that you consider people's feelings, and obviously considering people's feelings with time is actually, it's a language, right? Mm-hmm. To say, okay, I'm making an appointment with you, and you're really important to me, and I'm going to show up. For example, if you had some random contest you won, and the Dalai Lama said he was going to meet you on Thursday at 1:00 at the Buddhist temple, and it's just for you, nobody else, would you show up on time?
I would be early. I'm always early.
Okay. It's amazing to see that there's a lot of people would still be late for something that's extremely important. And for me, as I said before, it really goes back to presence of mind. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's different for other people. The presence of mind, what that means is that throughout the course of the week, I'm not always in the present moment. I'm all over the place. I got so many thoughts that are raveling me up, taking me out of who I am, my actual being. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about the past, I'm thinking about the future, or I have precisely timed moments of anxiety every day since the last 25 years of my life. Is it an exact moment I have anxiety? I breathe, I look at it, I go, wow, thank you. I write notes because sometimes my anxiety tells me really important things, mm-hmm. and then it just passes. So I think that the net of what I would say to anybody who is being truthful with themselves and sees that they really have a hard time showing up to things on time is plan better and recognize that it's a very, very important focus, as important as any meditation that you can do, is to say, I have an appointment at 12:00 noon on this Monday. I have to prepare and I have to stay focused. I need reminders, and I have to show up there because it's important to me and it's important to the other person. That is a lot of growth and progress.
And also, by the way, on that, which I agree with everything you're saying, but I also I look at time very logically. I think I always I try to address everything in a logical standpoint. And I'll use when I fly as an example, though we don't do it that much these days. If I have a plane ride, and I know I do the math, they always say get there 2 hours early, which you really don't have to do, but you want to be there at least an hour early for the most part, right? If the flight is in 5 hours and I'm home and I'm packed and I'm ready, I always say to myself, what is the goddamn difference of me waiting at home or waiting at the airport? Instead of getting stressed out, is there going to be traffic? Is there going to be an accident? I've been in times where a car gets a flat tire on the way.
How tall are you?
6'6", 6'5".
I think that's why you like that. You are really tall, and you're getting a much better bird's eye view of the reality and the gravity of the situation. Other people are looking at eye level to an event, and I'm using this as a metaphor, but I'm actually thinking in my mind that it's actually there's a little bit of a truth to a person's ability to balance staying present and in the moment with having the ability to say, you know what, it's really helpful for my life if I have the ability to plan and I have the ability to reason. I think that some of your values about time might be a little bit unreasonable, and here's where I would say, you're in a relationship and the person shows up half an hour late, and that's her character defect. You are triggered by that. An emotion set comes up.
I would say this, so let me interrupt you. I wouldn't have been triggered by it if she was always a half hour late. If she was only a half hour late for my things,
Right.
then it bothered me. Does that make sense?
It always made sense, no matter what it was. What I'm trying to make you aware of is how things in the outside world, I'm not judging them, by the way. I just want you to become aware how things in the world outside of your head can cause you to have a reaction, and they can tip you off your center, and how they can tip you so far off your center that you enter into a state of anxiety, fight, flight, or freeze. And from that position, it's impossible to make rational decisions. And so what I would tell you is that you have to practice studying your reactions to things and looking back and saying, I probably didn't have to react that strongly.
Well,
to
I
that
don't, by the way,
situation.
I almost never lose my temper. I would just have a pragmatic discussion about why it would bother me.
And it would probably lead to an argument because the other person is everyone is likely to be defensive. Look, not to sound too psychological about this, I don't think this is me studying psychology. I think it's me and my own experience in life and how I've reasoned stuff. When she's 30 minutes late, it's a given that she's already in an anxious state.
Right.
Whatever showing up on time to you meant to her subconscious mind, whatever lack of focus she had to those attentions of details, she was already in fight, flight, or freeze mode. So if you say, hey, let's have a rational discussion, impossible, buddy. You can't talk at that moment. What you have to do is you have to smile, get her to be calm, maybe thank her for showing up in the first place, enjoying your present moment, saying, wow, I really love this person. She looks great. We're having whatever we're doing for me. I'm happy she's here. And then you calculate how you're going to talk to her about that thing, not just so that you don't fight, because you're also hoping that you can help her to see something so that she can change.
Well, by the way, I mean, I've always felt the logic of the
acknowledge that.
I do acknowledge what I'm saying is that I use the term cooler heads prevail. So in the moment, it's seldom logical to get into an argument because you're already in that state.
Exactly.
So I would just wait till later. I wouldn't fight right at the restaurant. Although I'll tell you one quick story, then we'll put a button on this. It's funny is that I one time, it was a first date with a girl, made it a reservation at 7:30, told her it was 8 o'clock. At 8:15, she tells me she's running late. 8:30, she's on her way. 8:45, she's almost there. Shows up at like 9:15. Like I was actually leaving as she came in and goes, where are you going? And I said, dude, it's been an hour. You know, I assumed you just weren't coming.
Oh, God.
And then we get into a discussion. She goes, look, I'm sorry. She said something really shitty, which was, are you not accustomed to pretty girls? Pretty girls run late. And that bothered me. But I said, you know what? Let's just go in and sit down and
canceled.
eat. And we sit down. The restaurant held the table for me for an hour, so I felt bad if I wasn't even going to eat there. And I just said, look, before we go any further, this is our first date. I really believe you teach people how to treat you. And this doesn't work for me. Showing up an hour late is disrespectful to me above all else. You probably get away with it a lot in your life because you're a pretty girl, but it just doesn't fly for me. It's disrespectful. She started crying at the table.
Good.
Right? And I never lost my cool again and apologized. Then we had a nice dinner date. We actually went out 2 more times. Both times she was crazy late and I never saw her again.
You know what? I hope you wrote that story down because it's if we ever made a movie about dating and it just had first dates on a 60-minute loop. By the way, that would be a great YouTube channel. 10 hours of continuous first dates on video, and you don't have to narrate or anything. You're just showing it like a plane taking off and landing. Look, I would say for you is I can't get inside of any of those people's heads because they're not here. I would say for you is when this show is running parallel to you being in a relationship, our conversations are going to be amazing because so much is going to come up for you and there's going to be so much opportunity for you to make dramatic growth and shift and to try things differently and to see if that helps you to learn more about yourself and also to potentially develop a more lasting, deeper, intimate relationship. And I have a friend in California, used to skydive with him for many years, great human being, Joe Josephs. I'm not revealing too much. I'm just saying is Joe, great human being, heart of gold, very deep guy, super smart, very talented. Over the years that I know him, and he might have changed because I haven't been super close with him in the last couple of years, I just remember how he was a very deep fall in love kind of guy. And he met, appropriate women, and he would give up too quickly. And so would the partner. They would, at the first sign of frustration or a hurt or an injury where the person stepped on a landmine, the reactions were so intense, which only means, and I'm stepping away from talking about Joe, I'm being general now. What it just means is we have more emotional damage. And so what we should do instead is look at some of these relationships with an appropriate person as a workshop to have feelings come up, to be triggered, be able to talk about it, and to be able to react in a way that either says, you know what, it's time to leave. This person's a nutbag, or I should stay and face this and move things to the next level. So how do you feel about that? I
agree with that. It's funny. I have a friend who does similarly in that he gets into these crazy intense relationships. I love you almost immediately. We're moving in together, blah, blah, blah. And then just as quickly it fizzles out and he's in another love relationship. I mean, since I've known him, he's been in about 5 crazy passionate loves that were like the love of his life that ended prematurely.
Should we out him here on the podcast?
No, I don't feel like it's not worth it. But
how about his initials?
No, I think that would give it away way too much. By the way, get in front of your mic. The side of your mic sounds like shit.
Sorry.
Okay. Couple things. One, I did my run this morning. That's why I'm wearing this shirt and I look a little sweaty and messy. But I say this a lot, and I'm not the one trying to give life lessons, but I think you're going to appreciate this, which is listen to your fucking body, right? So for months, I've been doing the same sort of runs, short, medium, long, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm up to 4, 7, 10, 21 miles a week. Been doing that for several months now, right? Today, I am on my, first of all, because it's 9/11, which I want to get into a little bit as well, but everything was closed. All the streets are closed. Every time I started to get on a pace, there were cops blocking off an area, and I was turning around, going in. And eventually I was like, you know what? My body doesn't feel right. I feel like the universe is telling me, go fucking home. Because everywhere I went, I was trying to get onto the FDR Drive in 3 different places, all closed. Finally get on. As soon as I get down to, which logically, as soon as I get down to the Battery Park, Wall Street area, it's closed. So I turned around and went back. And instead of doing 10 today, I did 6. And I feel good about it because I wasn't feeling good. And I feel that that's important to people. And I think they don't do that enough. If your body is telling you something, listen to it. So it's not a failure to cut your run early if you're not feeling good. Or whatever it is, your workout, whatever it is, if your body's telling you something, just listen to your fucking body.
Depends on the sport.
Get in front of your mic. It sounds terrible.
It depends on the sport.
I guess that's true too.
And always, there's always a counterpoint to anything in this kind of stuff. I mean, when I was training for fighting, my trainer, one time, the few times that I just literally failed, like I just was so exhausted. He wasn't like a Burgess Meredith screaming at me. He put it in a way that I could hear it instantly, and it stayed with me forever, which is, he said, when I was training for my fights and my body was done and over, I tell my body what I want it to do. I don't let it tell me what to do. And that was very helpful for me in that type of athletic training.
But that's also a different, I would agree, it's not the same metrics when you're about to get into a ring with someone who wants to kill you.
Well, it's all relative, because if someone just starts training, let's say they're finally getting around to doing an exercise regimen and they go to the gym and they have a trainer and the trainer works them out with something that you and I would find incredibly easy, and they were dying, and the next morning they woke up Charlie horse. I don't know that they're supposed to listen to their body. I don't know that in that case, the best thing for them to do is just get up and go exercise to keep the momentum going. So I would say it's truth what you're saying. There's always a different angle.
Caveat to everything. Sure, I'll agree with that. Fine, no problem. So, but that leads me to just before we get into the last two things, I want to say to you, congratulations on closing the deal on the East Side GSP.
I didn't close the deal yet. I got the lease.
I heard it was closed.
Where'd you hear that?
You don't worry where I hear things.
Wasn't closed.
I heard it was signed.
Wow, I love rumors. I can't even imagine where that rumor would come from. But I appreciate that. I got the lead.
Tell you where I heard it from. So, your former Juice Press
make up something really big, like
one of the guys.
You were speaking to the Dalai Lama the other. I love the Dalai. I think he's so famous.
One of the guys that was an early investor in Juice Press, not initially, but the ones who were part of that group that put money in, and now you're still working with into some capacity, right? Is there one guy that is, right?
Okay, no.
You told me there was.
No.
All right, well, then that guy, is friends with a real estate broker that my cousin's working with. And my cousin said, I just heard they closed the deal. He told me yesterday.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you.
I thought I was going to surprise you with how the hell did you know
that?
No,
I'm impressed. I really think it's great. It's not really something that I need to keep a secret, except other than, I don't want to have to explain to a bunch of people backwards, like, oh yes, we got a deal. We didn't. I just got the lease a couple days ago. We're reading it. We're looking at it. We're staring at it. It's going to probably take back and forth 3 weeks. Great relationship already with the landlord. They are excited to have us. We know the state of New York City is not great, we'll say, for landlords. So I don't really feel that the landlord is going to just suddenly, back out or find a new tenant. So, and we really want this store. So it's positive. We're moving forward. It's a positive situation, but until the lease is signed and I have keys, it's not a deal.
Yeah, my uncle's the one who's not in the hospital. My uncle always flosses when they sign the contracts is when it's half over. When you move in, when the check clears, that's when it's done.
Unless there's certain people I know that even with a signed contract, if they don't like the deal, they just tear up the contract and they say, sue me.
Yeah, sue me. I have the money. It's fine. So, but I ask the question is that, as we're taping this, again, in the interest of full disclosure, and I just mentioned in the run, it is 9/11. And I'm just curious, 20 years ago today, were you in New York? What was your morning like that morning?
We talked about that. I was upstate New York at the skydiving center that I had a business in. I was taking a shower and I heard someone say out loud, a skydiving airplane crashed into the Twin Towers. And so obviously I turned off the shower, dried off, came in front of a TV, and for 5 minutes we thought it was a skydiving plane and we were trying to figure out which drop zone it came from. And then the second airplane hit and it became clear that we were under attack. It wasn't an accidental airplane striking a building. And I got back into the city within 2 days. And for about 3 days, I was helping my friend because I had a van. I was making deliveries to Ground Zero of garbage cans filled with ice and sodas.
Wow.
And I was right on Ground Zero. And it was like, I felt like I was in a movie set, like a Arnold Schwarzenegger destruction movie set. Mm-hmm. It was so surreal, and the way things were lit and the way that smoke was coming out of the piles of stuff. It was just really, really crazy. I can't believe it's 20 years. It's amazing how 20 years has gone by.
The girl that I brought up earlier, Dawn, was living with me at the time. And first of all, a couple of crazy quick stories.
She showed up late for 9/11?
The Saturday before 9/11, I DJ'd for the 9/11 terrorists. How about that at a strip club? Isn't that nuts?
That's a lie.
It's not a lie. It's 100% true.
Wait, say this to me again.
The FBI came. They were
Tell the story again a little bit slower because
I was DJing at a strip club in New Jersey called Lace, and you could Google it. The articles exist that they interviewed people at a strip club in Wayne, New Jersey. It was at the time the only strip club in Wayne, New Jersey, and it's called Lace. And the Saturday before, I was DJing, and a bunch of Middle Eastern gentlemen were in the club partying up like lunatics. The crazy thing is that one of them, when a girl asked what he do for a living, said he was an airline pilot. And then when he was leaving, he told her, which is crazy, stay out of New York next week, which is nuts. And at the time, she was, what are you talking about? And that was it. But then...
and they proved that to be true rather than fiction?
4 days later, on the Thursday after 9/11, there was proof that they were there. And I think it was I'm not 100% sure of the details, but the ones that went to D.C., not the ones that hit the towers. were the ones that were there. I'm not 100% sure on that. I wasn't privy to all the details, but the FBI came in, they had credit card statements and blah, blah, blah. And they were questioning people, and they brought me in to question me. And I said, look, I could tell you what music they liked. I don't know if that's going to help your investigation. And like, all right, forget it. We're done with you. And that was it.
You could tell. You said, "I'll tell you what jokes that they respond to that I broadcast." I always
remember also how out of touch some of the dancers were. It was the Thursday after that we reopened. That Thursday, I was DJing there, and there was, for obvious reasons, 3-4 people in the club. And the girl says to me, "Ugh, why do you think it's so fucking dead tonight?" And I said, well, there was a thing that happened 2 days ago. Maybe you saw it on the news.
Listen, it's a side. First of all, there's 80 good points that you brought up here. One of them, of course, the most important one that our guest and listener
is that if I was a better DJ, maybe
no, they don't know that you have a long history in talk radio, and you were for a very long period of time. You were a
strip club
exotic dance, a gentleman's club DJ.
Yeah, you really classed it up. Yes.
Well, your job, I came one time in my life. The only time I've been in a exotic dance house was to come see you. I remember. Do you remember that?
You came to, I think you came to Pure Platinum in Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken.
It was like during the afternoon, and it wasn't that crowded. And I walked through there, and I felt really like.
Yeah, evident, by the way, that you call it an exotic dance house, that you don't know much about it.
I'm not that prude, okay? I know what titty bars look like. I'm not,
Thank you.
I'm not a monk. I'm just saying I don't want to get canceled. I don't know what things are called anymore.
Okay,
so it's a non-binary exotic dance and festivity house, okay? Whatever you want to call it. And I saw how you were in a big club. You were managing to memorize all the music that each individual dancer liked. There were 3 different floors that you had to keep, like who the dancer was and who was coming on. And I saw what your job was, is you're like a party promoter. You got to make sure that guys tip and throw them $20 bills.
Yeah.
And you got paid out by tips, and you were making like $1,000 a night doing that.
More than that at the time. I actually, which was great. And it's
crazy.
For a long time, I was told, because they used to do crazy analytics at these clubs. They would run really tightly. And whenever I worked,
they'd count erections.
Yeah. It's close enough. They would say that at the end of the night, we'd have to have meetings, and they'd be like, all right, it's from this point to this point. How come we only sold this many this or whatever? How many people left or whatever? It was nuts. But whenever I worked, the club would make 30% more than when any other DJ worked. So they all wanted me to be the DJ, and it just started to get too much. I was working way too many hours. I hated it. But anyway.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you're out of there. I'm not going to judge those places, except to say that I do also recall that it didn't necessarily always make you happy.
No, it never did. It was happy for the first year or two, and I did it for almost 10 years, I think.
Well,
10 years.
I would say
the hours were really hard. You were always around drunk people.
Yeah.
I imagine
it doesn't, and I don't like to generalize anything, right? But certain industries are known to not be your first choice of employment. So
and it got rough for you, because having sex every night with 5 or 6 different women was very tiring.
Sure. And I remember once, this
very
is about
draining.
You'll like this statement. One time a girl said to me, I'm never going to get married. And I said, why? She goes, well, every guy here is married and miserable. So why would I get married? I said, well, I think your sample size might be skewed.
She's fishing in polluted waters.
Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at the wrong evidence. It's not a fair evidence. Anyway, so then to finish up, that weekend, I was dating a girl who lived with me, Dawn, and her and her two girlfriends flew in. They had like a gathering, and then they were stuck in my fucking apartment for like 3 weeks because there was no flights. You couldn't leave. They were stuck there, and it really put a lot of stress on our relationship. My brother was there too. He came back. He was there a couple of days later, but we actually, which is nuts, lived near the Empire State Building, and they evacuated us at one point because they thought that the Empire State Building was going to get hit, and the cops came to our, because we had a tall building a couple of blocks away. They made us all leave. It was really wild. It was a wild time to be in New York, and I cannot believe it's saying it was 20 years ago. It's hard to believe. The last thing I want to discuss with you.
I just want to make sure that in that segment that was self-helpy enough.
It was. I think it was.
Okay, good. What was self-helpy about it?
About not letting your past corrupt your future, maybe.
Okay, something like that.
Something like that. Lastly, and it's funny, I think we talk about this a lot, but I got 2 DMs this week from different people asking me to elaborate more on what I have been eating.
Oh my God, people.
Which I don't really maybe I don't talk about that enough. I don't know. And I don't think you're going to agree with my food choices in general, but I'm going to say it anyway, right? The only day I have an actual physical breakfast is Saturdays, right? Every other day I have a shake that I put fruits and vegetables in, right? There's protein in it, which I know you're not going to like, but I usually have fruits and vegetables in it as well.
Stop telling people what you think I won't like.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Okay, I'm saying because
but I'm saying it's my thought. And maybe
so far, I like everything.
Okay, and then the Saturday's a day, I don't even say it's a cheat meal, but I'll have eggs or I'll have something that I don't have Sunday through Friday. My second meal of the day, I try to wait because that's not even a real meal. It's like I'm done in 2 seconds. It's a drink. It's not very substantial, but it's just something, especially after I run or after I work out, I feel I need some sort of caloric intake, especially on a long run, right? So that's what I do. Then I try to make it to at least noon to have my first meal of the day that I think is like a sit down and eat meal. And that I always try with my lunch and my dinner to always have some sort of greens in my meal, a salad, a spinach, some sort of green vegetable, no matter what, in that meal. So yesterday is a good example. I made myself a kale salad with grilled marinated chicken breast, and that was my meal, right? And then for dinner is where I go, I'm going to say a little off the rails, just because it's one of my joys. I love sushi. I love unique restaurants. So I will go and eat something. I'd say 3 nights a week I go to dinner. I go out to dinner, probably. And I'll go for things that probably are not the healthiest, but I try to make a healthy choice within where I'm going. I don't really have pasta anymore. I don't have breads anymore, but I will have if there's a Caesar salad that comes with some croutons, I'm not going to eat around them, right? That's the best way to describe it. Or I'll have a steak. I had a steak yesterday for the first time in like a month. I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking good. And I love it. But my dinners, I make bad choices. Not often, but once in a while. And to me, that's the leeway I give myself to keep sane. And that's basically my diet 7 days a week. Along with, by the way, I start every day with that juice I make, which is celery, apple, lemon, ginger. And I usually throw in a different veggie. I threw in Swiss chard last week. I threw in spinach this week. I just bring in something else into the blender when I'm making that shot with my morning pills and before my run or my workout. Just give me a little energy.
Well, I think that when people talk about diet and they try to really get super fine and detailed about what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, sometimes what people say confuses people more than it actually helps them.
I agree.
So what stands to be true here, Ralph, is that first and foremost, there has to be some logic to your diet. So let's look at your diet. I'm assuming that you don't consume an amount of food on a daily basis that makes you feel disgusting and that's not causing you to gain weight. And we talk about weight gain because it's fact that if you're overweight, you're at a greater risk for certain types of illnesses.
Right. Agreed with all that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been trying to, I hate this. It's a hacky term, but one of the Peloton instructors says it all the time. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's okay to be hungry. I'm not going to die from starvation.
Yeah, that takes practice too. But I just want to be clear of how I'm framing this. I'm not coming in and saying count calories, but also you can't defy logic, and there has to be some metrics by which you determine your intake of food. If calories is not accurate for the layman walking down the street, because what are they counting really? And what do they know they're supposed to have? So instead of counting calories, just judge by what's going on with your body and when do you feel full. That's a better starting point for most people. It still holds true that the elimination of processed food first and foremost is the target. And that what that does is it just opens people's minds to understand that even though I might be a vegan, I also know that the human being is an omnivore and can consume animal protein. Now, is that optimal? Scientifically, no. Is that ideal for every single person? Absolutely not. Will a lot of people be perfectly healthy with that kind of diet? Absolutely, yes. So there's a wide parameter by which you can eat and be successful. The real thing is to know what not to do and keep refining your daily habits so that you can say, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. So probably if I'm making a mistake here, it doesn't matter as much.
Right. And also, by the way, what's a big help for me is to always keep a lot of fruit in the house.
Hell yeah.
Because when I'm dying to have something sweet, I go have cantaloupe instead of ordering an ice cream.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then the last thing which I think you'll find funny is, wait.
Why?
On this topic.
Wait, I want to stay with the cantaloupe. What is the cantaloupe serving that the ice cream cannot serve? I'm being serious.
I think it has nutrients in it that is probably not in ice cream. That would be my guess.
Okay, well, let's even dumb it down even more.
And I'm sure there's no fat, nowhere near the amount of fat.
Forget about all that. Forget about that. Nutrient is a fancy word for people that don't really understand nutrition. So let's just call it information. There's information contained in produce that's going to tell your chemistry something that the information in ice cream tells your body something different. The information in the ice cream will set up the phenomenon of more and more craving. The information in the ice cream is not necessarily going to alleviate hunger, although temporary. The information in the ice cream is pure mouth pleasure.
Mm-hmm. It's titled my sex tape, by the way.
Yeah, it's pure mouth pleasure. By the way, it's fine. It's mouth pleasure. It's even brain pleasure for a few moments. Right. It's like crystal meth. But then 18 minutes later, you're back to whatever triggers that you have in your emotions, and you're now in a cycle of, in order for me to feel good, I have to have something explosively sweet.
Right.
And right, as opposed to saying I'm eating something that's going to support my body. By the way, I have a little guest I want you to say hello to really quick. This is only
hello.
It's my wife.
Look how cute. For the audio listeners, it's Marcus's new child, hilariously adorable.
Okay, this is we're trying to
bribe. I can't hear you, Marcus, at all. Can't hear you.
We're trying to
so cute.
We're trying to promote our YouTube watchers.
She's so cute. It's ridiculous.
So we're resorting to putting a 5-month-old baby on the camera. This is something.
What happens if you just let both your hands go? What would happen?
She would turn into asphalt.
She's so cute. It's ridiculous. So funny.
Oh my god! I can't.
That's hilarious. She's so happy. Oh my god! It's hilarious.
I know that the furthest thing from your possible mind would be dedicating lots and lots of time for an infant.
She's so cute. Oh my god!
Say it again. Say it again.
She's so cute. Say something else, woman. Come on, woman.
But
no.
I want to give a shout out to my wife.
It's hard to hear you. The mic is very one directional.
All right, I'm sorry. I want to give a shout out to Teresa, my wife.
You do that every week, so no worries. There she goes.
Because her mindful practice of taking care of this baby has been inspirational for me, because it's a 24-hour job, literally, for her, and she does it with such strength and so much love. That first of all, I realize, and sadly, I realize what I didn't have as a child, and also, she, similar to diet and how we get inspired by someone who keeps a very clean diet or someone who goes to the gym. Watching my wife really inspires me to strengthen myself and to be much more present when I'm with this little.
I feel like she's really looking at me.
She's incredible. She's at that stage now where she finally just woke up and realized that there's millions of things outside of herself. And so now she just wants to touch everything.
I'm not good with baby ages. What is she, about 12 years old?
She's 16.
Okay, fair enough.
No, she's 5 months.
That's really cute.
Do you want to hear her hiccup really quick?
How do you do that? You can force a hiccup? How do you?
No, she's hiccuping. I'll put the
I heard it. I heard it. That's funny. I heard it. Oh, now she's eating the microphone. And she doesn't like the taste of it. There she's licking the mic. That's hilarious. All right, we got to wrap it up, Marcus.
Wait, let's just look. If we keep this on for 20 minutes after we leave, we'll notice how our ratings went up.
It's so funny. I really feel she's staring into my soul.
Let her look at you for a second. Stop getting scared. Why do you always have to wrap it up when you have an emotion?
No, I'm not. It's just funny. It's really funny. She's so cute. All right. Marcus, anything else you want to talk about besides lying to me?
I'm gonna bring her a little closer to the camera so that people can get a nice little close up of.
Oh, she's so cute. Oh my God, that's nice. I like her. Is that a wolf shirt?
Do you find her to be cuter than me?
I mean, I find anybody to be cuter than you, to be honest. All right, we're gonna wrap it up, Marcus. Follow me everywhere at I am Ralph Sutton. My other show, the SGR Show, comes out every Wednesday and Saturday live, and then a few days later on iTunes, YouTube, and across the planet. Marcus, I was sorry I was wrong about your new store, that it's not signed yet, but hopefully it will be soon.
I just want to say one thing before we close it. If any human being in the world isn't enticed to go to the Good Sugar YouTube site to look at that baby for 30 seconds, I cannot imagine how heartless you are. I can't
Fair enough.
possibly understand.
All right, we'll see you next week on the Good Sugar Podcast.